Hi, it's Anne. Thanks for stopping by. We're going to be making some little faux postage stamps today. I've been enjoying using old postage stamps that I've gotten off eBay recently and putting them together in little clusters. They're nice and flat and they look great. And plus, I just love the look of a stamp. But it occurred to me, we could certainly just make our own too that will give a stamp-like sort of illusion. There are, I had this as a card maker. I have a fair amount of little dies like this. I had this this little die to put through my die cutting machine that I used to make a couple of little stamp shapes. They have that kind of interesting edge that is very similar to what a real stamp has. But do you know what I really found to be just as just as good, if not better? It was just my ordinary pinking shears. You all know I'm dissatisfied with with the sort of decal edge plastic scissors that they just don't seem to work very well. Some folks have had good luck with them, and I salute you if you're one of those people. But for me, just my standard pinking shears that I've used for years on fabric and now, gasp, use on paper, they seem to be fine. The little edge is not exactly, you can't see that good contrast with my hand there, but here, this will be a little more visible. The zigzag edge of a pinking shear is not the same as this, just as good, if not better. It was just my ordinary pinking shears. You all know I'm dissatisfied with with the sort of decal edge plastic scissors that they just don't seem to work very well. Some folks have had good luck with them, and I salute you if you're one of those people. But for me, just my standard pinking shears that I've used for years on fabric and now, gasp, use on paper, they seem to be fine. The little edge is not exactly, you can't see that good contrast with my hand there, but here, this will be a little more visible. The zigzag edge of a pinking shear is not the same as this sort of, but it's like little half circles, that perforation that's on the side of an actual stamp. You could, if you wanted to be really methodical, get out your hole punch and do like little half circle punches. But quite frankly, why would you when you can get something just as close? The suggestion of a stamp, if you will, with pinking shears. So let's just make a few. And I want to show you how I'm sort of collecting them or collecting images to go on them. As I've been making these, I've sort of been using a formula, which, we tend to not like the term formulaic in junk journal world because everything is unique and different. And in fact, that is still the case. But I find if you use a little bit of a formula, it makes it easier to kind of mass make these. So let's just go ahead and make some. The first thing I've done with my formula is, let me get one that's sort of a middle-sized. This one is a little bit, that's a little bit large. Let me cut this one down to size just a little bit more and make it a little more proportional. It's quite a bit larger than a regular postage stamp, but I am okay with that. Let me see if I have you in frame. I'm getting perilously close to being out of frame, so sorry if I was working off to the side a bit too much there. This is about 2.5 by 1 3/4. Size is not important. What I have been doing with these is I've been putting a little scrap of book page and some sort of a colorful image. If you have stickers, that works great. You know what I've been doing? I've been going through like some of my catalogs or magazines that I have around, and I've just been cutting out like little images from these catalogs. They're really not useful for anything else, but you can just find so many little things that are nice and colorful. You're going to be stamping on top of them and obscuring them, so they're not going to be super visible anyway. They'll just give you the suggestion of color. I've gone through some of my garden magazines. If you have I'll get these in the mail every week. Some grapes, just a little bit of a fussy cut food item would be nice to put on here. So let's just get on with that. I've been pairing some sort of a little colorful image with a piece of book page. So set these aside, and I'm just going to use glue stick. The base for these, I used some brown paper. I think this is from a grocery bag. This is a piece of coffee dyed paper. A piece of fly leaf from a book would work fine. Just some sort of base. Use what you have, and I know you will. Go ahead and put this down for a glue surface. And just a tiny little scrap to keep in with the proportions of this whole thing. I just chose something that had very small text. And I'm gonna have to keep checking to make certain I'm in frame here. I'm gonna pull out just a little bit. That's more where I usually am. I'm less likely to drift off screen that way. So here's just this little scrap. And then how about a little bit of a colorful image here? That one's bigger than most of mine, but I'm fine with that because we're not getting too picky here. Everyone is going to be different anyway. So while I say they're formulaic, they follow a bit of a pattern. So I have one piece of book page and one colorful image here. And yeah, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable with this. I just hope you can see well enough with that image. I'm going to bring in a solid background. Here's a little piece of, I don't mind if I get glue on this. I'll sacrifice that to the cause. There we go. That's a little bit, hopefully is a little more visible for you. Now, so I've got these two parts of my formula, the book page and the colorful image, and then I'm just going to do a little stamping. And because these are postage stamps, I'm going to get out some of my postal themed stamps. There's that one, and there's the squiggly. Here's the squiggly lined one that I like. And then now that doesn't, sometimes the gloss of a magazine page kind of repels that ink a little bit, but it's okay, it'll dry just fine. And then for a little bit of additional color, grab my red ink. I like to add just one more stamp. This has a little star on it. Partially on, partially off. So I have the representation of those postal images. And really, that will be just fine to use as a faux postage stamp. Let's just do a few more and then we'll put them on a pocket or put them on a bit of a background for use in our journals. Of course, you probably really want to grunge up these edges. Maybe the next one I'll do the grunging before I put the images down. Doesn't that look nice? It really does. Let's just do a few more and then we'll see which ones we like the best. Let's use one of our little square ones. This is one that I did cut from, I must have cut that from a mailing envelope, but I cut this on my die cut machine. There we go. And let's pick out something really small for our image. How about that strawberry? And how about a really small little book page piece? It needs to be smaller yet, my golly. This is almost something I could pick out of my dustpan when I sweep my craft room floor. There's that one, and here's this little strawberry. I'm sure that came from a food ad. There we go. And right after I said I was going to distress the edges first, I didn't do that because I was all excited to paste some stuff down. Gluey fingers here. And again, you know, that's is a really insignificant little little image. It's, you know, it's not beautiful, but once we stamp on it, it's going to, again, give us that suggestion, that illusion of a stamp. I think I'm going to do just part of that postmark there. And because this is so little, I think I'm going to only do that, and I'm not going to add the colorful piece in. There's another one. It's not the splashiest thing you'd ever have, but you put that together with other things on a journal page, and it just gives a really sweet impression. Let's just do a few more. Here's a little bit of a different background. This is a piece of graph paper, and I put a piece of sewing pattern tissue paper on that, maybe to get just a little bit of texture. This one is a little bit longer, not quite as proportional as you would have in a regular postage stamp. But you can make these any size you want. Is that kind of big? That might be a little bit big. I think I might go with a larger piece of book page here. And just put a little glue on that, and then we'll see what kind of images we have. Again, tiny little stickers would be great. What about this orange? Orange glad, we have that. Get a little glue on the back of that. I'm sure I'm off camera with that, but that's all I'm doing over here to the right. There's that. Now we'll come in with some stamping. Here's our little, maybe just for variety, maybe I'll use a slightly larger circle postmark here. I'm going to stamp it here so I can see what I've got going. Let's see, that says Paris on it, so I'm going to turn it that way. I'm going to put the circle up here in this corner. And there's our little, I'm sure there's a name for those squiggly lines. I'm going to put a couple of those there. And let's put a little dash of red in here just for fun. Ooh, I like this one. I think that's pretty. I think I might put another little dash of red up in the upper right hand corner, going off the edge. I'm liking this one a lot. I'm gonna set that aside. Let's do another one, and then we'll get a couple in place. Let's go with another one. That's another one of the significantly larger ones. But we'll distress those edges. These are just the type of thing you can just sit and make, put on a podcast, put on videos of your friends, your YouTube friends. And this is just something you can just sort of mindlessly do, particularly if you have, you know, just assembled a little bit of book page, a little bit of music page here. And just follow this little formula. You maybe don't want to be doing a lot of thinking on these hot days of summer. You might want to just be enjoying a little time, hopefully in the air conditioning or maybe in your basement, where I am very, very fortunate to be. That's kind of nice, and I'll fill in more of that space with the stamping. I'm not going to overthink these. There we go. Now for the stamping. Let's go back and do this. I have this little airmail stamp. I think I'm going to try that. There we go. Just part of it is showing. I'm thinking I like that one just as it is. Again, they're not great works of art. They're to give the suggestion of something kind of, you know, something energetic, something familiar. All right, let's look at these several that we have done, and let's put them in place. There's that one. Are those the 4 that we've done? Yes. Now, what would we like to put these on? I have a couple of kind of blank pockets here. Should we do... That proportionally is rather nice on a pocket. What about if we needed to ground it? Do I like that one? I might want something a little bit smaller. Yep, that feels better. That feels better for me. Little glue stick. I continue to be absolutely delighted with the Doris glue stick, and I'm much less worried about running out or not being able to afford them. I've kind of stocked up, to be honest, but I'm still conserving in if I'm doing big gluing projects, but I'm willing to use the glue as I need it right now. So that's the current state of my anxious making over supplies. So this is just a little pocket that's made out of a book fly leaf. You may have digitals or something that you enjoy for this, but I usually enjoy going the non-digital route. How nice will that be on a page? That'll be great. Okay, let's look at one that's sort of a brownish background. This is off of a little piece of, I think this is a piece of scrapbook paper. And what would be nice here? Do we want something big? That could be nice all on its own. I kind of want to use this orange one though. How's that? What could we ground that with? I have a little piece of stamped vellum. Maybe I can sort of tear that off. We might as well let as much of that show as we can. I'm enjoying that. Vellum can be kind of tricky to adhere, but I'm not going to be, I think I'm just going to use my art glitter glue and not put the glue on the part of the vellum that's exposed. Here, maybe I think I'm gonna tilt it like that. That's gonna give it a little more energy. There we go. So this part of the vellum, I'm just going to let it just sort of flap up there by itself. It's not going to have any problem with anything. And I'm just going to put this glue on the back of my faux stamp itself, so it's not going to be squishing through. Well, I say that and I got it part of the way showing through there, so that I am going to have a little bit of that glue showing, but hopefully it'll be disguised enough. What handy little things to have in a stash. So there's a couple of pockets that will be great on a page. And let's see, do I have a tag around here? Here's one tag that's just been sitting around needing something on it. Here's the little one that's too small to put in there by itself. It's not really proportionate. But here's one that I did before. Maybe I could put both of those down there with some sort of grounding. I think I'm going to pull another piece of book page. No, but that might be too busy because it's a very busy background. What if I use something like this? This is another piece of a fly leaf. Yes, I think I'm feeling okay about that. Let me get it torn down appropriately. And not make too big of a statement there, but that's kind of cute with those two strawberries. I am going to ink it up. I don't think any of these embellishments could really stand by themselves. I mean, you know, maybe they could. I don't know. If you make some that are really spectacular, they could absolutely stand by themselves. But as something kind of sweet and little to put on a pocket or on a tag that already has a bit of visual interest on it, I think they could be just really useful. And now, do I like both of those together, or do I want to combine the little one? I keep changing my plan here. I think I almost want to put that into as a little cluster by itself. Nope, I'm getting too busy. I'm getting too busy. I need to think about the background and what that represents, which is a lot of visual stimulation. Here's this little faux stamp. And here's another little one. I realize this is a lot of small detail that you might not be able to see. I've had some people complain about that recently. So I'm trying to listen. There we go. You know, I could build out this design a little bit. I could put another one of my little strawberry. You know what? I'm going to do that. I have another one of these little strawberries here, and I'll put that in that corner. And maybe I'll put a part of a stamp down in this corner and kind of complete that theme. Put a little mask there so I don't get the additional ink. Where I don't want it. There we go. I think that makes kind of a sweet little statement there. I obviously didn't get my glue. That top part of that tiny little strawberry. Anyway, there you go. If you have some little scraps of things sitting around and you want to make some little faux postage stamps, give it a go. And we will see you soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.